Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 News. Huge drama today with the confirmation of the Madrid Grand Prix from 2026 onwards in what might well be the worst looking F1 track that I've seen in a very long time. Lots of reaction to this, even including the drivers with Verstappen seemingly getting involved, discussing what exactly this means for the future of Formula 1. There's been lots of questions on it lately. Madrid coming in for a 10-year stint with an unproven track, moving away from Barcelona, a proper circuit, to go to basically what is a street track, regardless of what they'll tell you. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. Just before we get into the Madrid Grand Prix stuff, AlphaTauri tweeted this out today, B.RB. Now, the rumour was the other day that they're going to be called Visa Cash App RB, right? Not Racing Bulls, as was initially thought, but just literally RB, and it's kind of mind-blowing. Kind of funny, B.RB, because it literally implies B team, does it not? It's literally like Red Bull, as in RB, and then the B version, B.RB. So I don't really know where they're going to go with this, or whether, after the backlash on the rumours as to what their team name was going to be, whether they've changed their minds somewhat in a similar way to what we saw happen with Stake F1 Team, that's now simply Stake F1 Team, rather than Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber, which it was going to be. We'll see what AlphaTauri are cooking up. What we expected today, the big announcement, was the Madrid Grand Prix being confirmed, replacing the Barcelona Grand Prix on the calendar. It must be said, they are even discussing keeping Barcelona as well. Although I think that's rather doubtful, to be honest. And that would, of course, mean, 3 US Grand Prix, 2 Spanish Grand Prix, but possibly still nothing in Africa. So there's something to be said about that as well. Would I like to see Barcelona kept? Yes. But unfortunately, there's nothing we can do because Madrid is coming in. This is the confirmation from Formula 1. And I love how they announce this as if, the reasons why they're doing this isn't just for the money. Because it is, let's be honest. This, IFEMA or whatever it is, these guys have this venue set up in the northeastern part of Madrid. They have money to spend. They want to bring attention to what effectively looks like an industrial park, to be honest, and maybe it'll look different in a couple of years, but it's not even like this street track is in the middle of Madrid. It's not like it's Baku or something in Las Vegas where the Grand Prix takes place. Sure, it's a street track and maybe there's pros and cons to that, mostly negatives on most of them, let's be honest, but at least they occur in, the district in the centre of the city where things are actually kind of interesting, maybe. Whereas this one is on the outskirts in kind of no man's land. So this is what F1 say. The race will be staged on a brand new circuit with both street and non-street sections around the IFEMA exhibition centres, not even the centre of the city. Now, they say, oh, well, it's got street circuits and not street circuit sections, just trying to pretend that, oh, it's not just another street circuit, guys. It is another street circuit. We'll have a look at the layout here in a second and tell me this isn't absolutely terrible. So they've got 20 turns, this is the length, so just keep this in mind, 1 minute 32 second lap time, so it's not an insanely long lap, it's a pretty, reasonably, probably slightly above average lap time for the calendar. So it just means that when we look at the track layout in a second, these straights are not very long. This is not a 2 minute lap time whereby, the straights we're going to see are actually relatively long. That's not the case. This is, though, one thing that F1 are going to push hard on this, and to say why they've made this move, pretend it's not for the money, is on the accessibility. And to be fair, this is an interesting point because Barcelona was known, at least, I think it was maybe 2022, was known for pretty horrific accessibility. There was just issues at the Grand Prix, getting people in and stuff like that. Maybe accessibility wasn't too bad. Even Spa, we know that the accessibility there to the Ardennes Forest or whatever is not so easy. People have to drive there. And part of Formula One's 2030 net zero vision or whatever they say, one of those things is to be able to say to people, well, to our races, 90% of people can go by public transport. That's not the case for certain Grand Prix. And I wonder if that's going to mean that certain Grand Prix in the future get pushed out in the name of sustainability. They say, oh, well, it's not sustainable enough, so we have to take all this money to do another street circuit, rather than, keep Spa, keep Silverstone. Even Silverstone could potentially apply to this other stuff. So somewhat concerning, I will say. The thing that I think really annoyed me about it is the fact that it's another 10-year contract, right? It's not like these tracks are getting short-term deals to see if they work. They're getting thrown 10-year mega deals. It's actually pretty absurd. You look at the contracts with the shortest number of years left on them. You're looking at Spa, Silverstone, Suzuka. basically name all the good tracks, and they will have a contract 2 to 3 years maximum. Even Monza is in the question, Imola is certainly under question, you know, these legendary racetracks, whereas Madrid just comes along, pays a load of money, and bang, you get a 10-year deal straight off the gate. So let's have a look at this track layout then, because man, when we saw the rumours about this, maybe a month and a bit ago now, that they were basically going to be roundabouts on the track, I was like, okay, come on, surely someone's just mocked this up and you're taking the mick. But no, that is actually the reality of the situation. This is the track layout here. So the start-finish line is over here on the left-hand side. You have a very short, let's be honest, run down into turn 1, where, you know, okay, heavy braking zone, little turn 1, turn 2 chicane, not too much issue with that. Then a tricky traction zone here, right-hander, down to, you know, this kind of curvy straight thing. Now, the problem with this whole situation is that at some point here, you need some sort of braking zone, because there are literally 1, 2, I guess there's only 2 roundabouts here on the top side. There was more they could have used at the bottom, you guys can see, but it looks like it's a cycling race, right? They've got to go round the roundabout. How about if you let the drivers, you actually have a roundabout in the middle, and you let drivers choose whether they go left or right? That'd add some sort of excitement. But no, you just have to go, have a look at how this works out, right? You go around this corner, and then you have to kind of cut across this roundabout in just a weird kink in the road, and then have got to do it again later on. Like, that isn't exactly a heavy braking zone where there's going to be a good overtaking chance, right? That's just a kink in the road where people are going to be struggling to follow, really. Then you get this like parabolica type thing on the right hand side, and then sector 3 is just like, you guys can see it. They go under a tunnel here. I'm pretty sure one of these is like a tunnel. There might even be 2 tunnels here. Not sure why it's not letting me zoom in again. Here we go. I'm guessing we're tunneling under this road, and then we're tunneling back under this road. So it just looks like a mess, right? Let's be honest. There doesn't seem to have been much thought into the way this is going to be laid out. It's more about just, all right, how does it work with what we've currently got? So, like, don't try and tell me it's not a street circuit when I'm looking at us going across roundabouts. So, sector 3 is like, where are we overtaking? Now, I know overtaking isn't the be-all and end-all, but especially with these cars. Now, to be fair, 2026 could be a different story. The car's going to be different, slightly smaller, probably slightly easier to overtake. DRS might not be a thing anymore. There'll be some other thing, aerodynamic thing they can use to gain advantage. So maybe the cars are better and slightly nimbler, and therefore they can actually use this circuit to some degree. But let's just take today's Formula 1 cars. Where are you trying to pull a move? There aren't many hard braking zones. This sector 3, you're basically just going to be following through corners, kind of like you do in Mexico, sector 3, for example, through the stadium section. There's not going to be enough positions to overtake because there's not enough speed. You can't generate enough speed on these short straights to actually overtake at any of these points, really. And even the main straight isn't very long, and the one opportunity you might have had on this very long kind of back straightish thing is just disrupted by roundabouts and a tunnel. So it's just such a mess, honestly. I don't know if people were comparing this, understandably, right, maybe to what was the case in Las Vegas, because people criticised the Las Vegas track quite heavily, but actually turned out to be a very good Grand Prix. This is another look at it if you guys are interested, which is, again, it just kind of gets the point across. Now, there were potentially some things that could make this slightly better, we'll see in a second, but they're working with a difficult base, I'm not going to lie. Those things are as follows. So turn 7 to 9, it's also quite difficult to tell where turn 7 to 9 even are, because if you have a look at this overview, okay, turn 1, turn 2, guessing that's turn 3. Is that turn 4? Is that 5? Possibly. There's a bit of a kink in this. Is that 6, 7, 8? I don't know. Whatever. This is what they say, that turn 7 to 9 is going to be steeply downhill, so that's going to be exciting, featuring the rise after the tunnel. So, okay, maybe there's going to be some interesting features to this. And then turn 10, which I guess is this one, has the possibility to be banked, which is actually quite a cool idea. So if they bank that corner, would make things kind of interesting. And then have a listen to what they say on this. Turn 13 to 17 to like the end of the lap, the boring 90-degree corners round literally industrial buildings, aiming for drivers to build up serious speed between a collection of buildings and grandstands to bring more excitement to both drivers and audiences. What annoys me about this as well, I'm just going to continue my rant to be honest at this point, because why not, is that these cars, Formula 1 cars, they generate the most downforce of like any car in the world. They are at their best in fast, high-speed corners, but instead we have them racing around with the best drivers in the world. These stupid corners where they just do 90-degree turns, and they're so slow and clumsy. Like, they actually look so bad in these corners. These like little 90-degree corners, such as in Baku. The cars look so slow because they're not designed to work at those type of speeds. They're heavy. They don't generate as much downforce as those speeds. It's nowhere near as impressive as seeing a car go through Copse or Maggots and Beckett's, of course, historically the case at Silverstone. Just to clarify this, by the way, this was the Las Vegas circuit. It got clowned on a fair bit initially because it looks like an upside-down pig. But let's be honest, those who knew wheel initially looked at this and said, well, actually, there's a fair few chances here because the way the circuit's designed, big straight into a braking zone, little tricky sector 2, but again, big opportunities for a slipstream down into the main Las Vegas strip, and the way the final part of the lap is designed with the straight here and then the curved kind of final corner is set up for good racing, really. Some sections like the starter sector 1 and starter sector 2 where it's going to be difficult to follow, but if you can stay within the DRS zone or in the slipstream, then you've obviously got opportunities here, and we saw a great race at Las Vegas. This is there's no comparison to me between the Vegas circuit, what they've produced here, what they've somehow mustered up here in Madrid with, the speed will be nowhere near as high, despite what they might potentially say. And also just to compare it to Barcelona, I know some people are saying, oh, well, all of a sudden people apparently like Barcelona now, despite having haters on it for years. I always kind of like Barcelona, to be honest. I mean, have a look at this track, for example. Turn 1, big braking zone, good overtaking opportunity. But even if you make an overtake there, it's not over yet because the way the circuit is designed, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, very wide corners. You can take alternate lines through the corners. The racing often continues through turn 1, turn 3, turn 4. And then, okay, it calms down in the middle of the lap here, but another potential chance going down to turn 10. And now they fix the final corner, getting rid of that stupid chicane. It's actually a quality exit onto the main straight as far as I'm concerned. I know that people said, and it was for years, Barcelona boring and all this stuff because, the teams always test there, they had all the information. So, if Barcelona was to disappear, would I miss it? Yes, but I like Barcelona probably more than the average fan. But for it to go in favour of what we've just seen is just shambolic, right? This is an actual proper track, right? Whereas what we've just seen, I'm not sure really qualifies for that. What it reminded many people of actually, this Madrid track, was what we saw in Valencia a few years ago. Because Hamilton was asked the question, because it was rumoured now for some time that the Spanish Grand Prix might move to Madrid. And sure, as we'll see in a second, Stefano Domenicali saying, well, maybe we could still do Barcelona. Kind of, I personally doubt it. But Hamilton said at the time, sure, maybe we can do it as long as the track is good. Because as long as it's not like Valencia was when the Spanish Grand Prix was there, which was not the most enjoyable track to drive. This was Valencia, by the way, and you've also got to consider that during this Grand Prix, they were using much smaller, lighter, nimbler, more agile cars that could overtake better, could race better, because let's say you've got a tight corner. Nowadays, cars are so wide, you can't take two different lines, you can't really go for so much of a switchback because there's just one line. Your car is that big, that's just where you have to go. So it makes things easier when the circuit is tight like this. Now, this was not a good track. I don't think anybody really thinks that it was the Valencia Grand Prix circuit that they raced at. And it wasn't, fun to drive, as Hamilton said. It didn't really produce anything spectacular racing. But can we see not similarities, right? I mean, actually, the way this is designed in many respects reminds me a fair bit of what we have seen. But at least turn 11 down into turn 12 had a heavy braking zone after a big straight. I'm not even sure I see that really on the circuit that we've just had here at Madrid. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this circuit better, this Valencia one, or is this circuit better, the Madrid Grand Prix supposed one? I don't know, to be honest, either way. And we will have to give it, I want to give it a little bit of benefit of the doubt until we actually see the circuit in action with the new cars, but I'm still not convinced it's a good idea. And it's just the fact that it's there for 10 years and it's replacing an actual proper track, which is frustrating me. Now, where things actually kind of kicked off to the next level here in some respects was when Verstappen.com, so Verstappen.com, whatever. Now, I don't imagine it was Verstappen himself necessarily that posted this, but definitely gets the point across because Max himself has been highly critical of the direction of Formula 1 over the last few years, the decisions they're making in terms of the future of the sport. And here comes, Verstappen's own account here tweeting out this image of himself where he looks, thoroughly fed up with the situation. So I can't imagine that Verstappen has seen that announcement today and said, okay, yeah, fantastic. That really shows where we're trying to go as a sport, because there's so many concerns about this and for very good reason. Of course, other drivers as well will, be interesting to see what they have to say on the matter as well. And I kind of feel bad maybe for the current crop of drivers, because if you're the likes of a Hamilton or Alonso or someone that's raced for, decades at this point, at least they got to experience the good years, when Formula 1. And okay, there's obviously problems in every era, and it's not like, back then was all sunshine and rainbows. There were plenty of problems back then. But at least, back in the day, they used to race, generally speaking, on real circuits. There were some stinkers over the years, but it just feels like the direction of Liberty Media is really just with the bottom line in mind, rather than what it actually means for the future of the sport and for the fan base, because the reaction to this has been so overwhelmingly negative. And I guess it was for Vegas as well. They maybe proved us wrong there to some degree, but at least that was a spectacle and the track is actually good. This is what I can see a bad track in an industrial park, effectively. So it just doesn't send the right message to me. They have said to Domenicali that, well, maybe we could keep doing Barcelona. We have discussions in place to see if we can extend our collaboration there. So we'll see if that ever comes to anything. And then Domenicali goes on to say it's great news for Formula One, as it shows once again there is strong appetite around the world for our sport, which I guess is true. But you don't always have to take the money wherever it potentially arrives from. And even says it truly epitomizes F1's vision to create a multi-day spectacle of sport and entertainment, which is, you know, this gets the point across very well. It's not really so much about the sport anymore. Sure, he mentions the sport first, but really it's a spectacle. It's about entertainment. And, you know, the thing is, right, you say that, is this providing more spectacle and entertainment than we have seen elsewhere? I don't personally think so. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. And as Ross says here quite eloquently, really, on, you know, what you couldn't exactly rule out for Formula One to do on the current trajectory. So lots of frustration for the fan base, and I think for very good reason. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.